Dreams do not have a filter that your normal, polite, waking self puts up.
Welcome to the Hidden Meaning of Dreams with Sweet Georgia Pam.
It does matter what the dreamer themselves associates with those things that come up in the dream.
Spiritual director, dream expert, author, and educator, Sweet Georgia Pam is here to remind us that dreams are the answer. They're always with you. They know you better than you know yourself, and they're always trying to tell you the truth.
There's some back and forth here between you and some awareness.
And now your host, Melissa Carter.
SweetGeorgiaPam.com is the website you can go to find out all about Pam. We welcome you to the podcast. We've got some free things on there for you. We'll talk about in a minute. Plus, she's on social media, Sweet Georgia Pam. And speaking of social media, this is a dream from TikTok.
Hooray.
All right, Janneed5. I'm going to give you a shout out. I have never had a dream in my home, but I've had many dreams in lots of different homes and houses I've never seen. Is that normal?
I love that question. Yes, it's normal. And it's intriguing. And it creates a really interesting thing that you can reflect on about yourself. Our dreams are symbolic, but they also use the stuff from our waking life to they kind of make this funhouse effect on our lives, and we kind of reflect in
I like that funhouse
wonky
effect, yes.
ways. Yeah. Houses in a dream can represent your, we're going to go straight into it, can represent your physical body. If you think of your physical body as your house. Okay. So things that occur in the front yard would be things happening right outside of your immediate surroundings. Things that occur in the attic might be things in your head. In the basement might be things in your lower extremities. That's one of the things I think about when we start with a house dream is, okay, where's all the action? Mm-hmm. And is that aligned in somewhere with the body that makes sense for that person? Something going on in that area of their body that is happening there. That's one interpretation. Another interpretation of your house is what's going on now, not in the physical body, but what's going on internally versus externally in the outside world. So if I am having inner conflict with my friends or with my mom, or we're having this struggle, but it hasn't really been expressed yet, that might be something that takes place inside the house in a dream.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
It can represent the body. It can represent the self, like not the physical body, but the self and what's going on. Like you and I are having this conversation that would take place outside of a house in my dream.
Right.
But what's coming up for me as we're having this conversation, that would take place inside of the house in a dream.
It makes sense because there's a framework to a house. So there's a framework to your body and a framework to your life if there's inner and out. So that you see the structure is, I don't want to say boundaries. It is kind of there's boundaries.
Yes.
But yeah, I would have never considered that interpretation. I would have just like, oh, is this the house I want? Is this the house I've seen on the street? Again, the literal mind is this must be a house. Like Janneed5 again said, different homes and houses I've never seen.
Mm-hmm. But it's symbolic. It's a symbolic house, symbolism. Okay. And then there's a difference. I'm going to get to it's not my own house, right? Okay. That's that literal jump. I'll get there in a second. But also it's the difference between a house and a building is that a house is a personal place that we live in. A house is a personal abode. I can't think of the right word that I want to put in here. What's the word for living? Personal quarters? Our personal quarters? I don't know.
It's in the military?
It's personal. Words escape me now. Let's go back to the images. Okay. So a building might be something that relates to your work or, I don't know, the actions you're taking in the world. But your house or a house in your dream is personal for you. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference in buildings and houses. Sometimes people will dream and they'll say, it's weird because it was my childhood home, but it didn't look anything like my childhood home.
I have had those dreams. Yes.
It was and it wasn't, right?
Right.
In that case, first of all, we go, okay, well, then something in your childhood home in real life felt like the home in your dream. Okay. We would look at, you might say something like, it was my home from childhood, except my bedroom was in a different area of the house, right? Or whatever. What are the differences between the two? And then what in your real life are you exploring that felt like this other setup?
I had a dream where I was the old elderly version of myself. And this is before I had my son. So this is many years ago. I was the elderly version of myself. And I was with my children, and I want to say grandchildren were there with me. And I was visiting my old home. I was showing them. So I remember in the dream, I was showing them my childhood home, but it wasn't my childhood home. And all that I remember from the dream was a long hallway. It was a nondescript long hallway. And that was my home that I was showing them. And I remember waking up thinking that's so crazy because it was the past and the future. But again, I was being literal, right? I was like, oh, is this a premonition of what I'm going to do when I'm older, instead of actually looking at the symbolism of the dream?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And I never discount premonitions. It might also be a premonition, but you'll never know that till then.
Right. Well, I'm going to have another.
I
only have one kid now, and I don't have plans to have any more. In the dream, sure. I had more than one. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a premonition or not.
So in my version of your dream right now, if I am my elderly self, at that point in your life, you are reflecting on your hopes and dreams and everything you've learned until now and what you can teach yourself by looking back. Your hopes and dreams that you had at that time when you had the dream are represented by the old lady version of you. This is the part of me that went all the way out into the future and dreamed up those things of what I wanted.
And since I'm sitting here, I don't think it was me dreaming about having children. I think it was me dreaming about not being forgotten.
That's
powerful. Having more of an immortal part of myself.
Yeah.
That I think to be truly immortal, it's through, you may not have the ability to have children, but it's through somebody you're mentoring, whether it be a child or a student or whatever.
Yeah. And symbolically for me, a long nondescript hallway is about vision and a journey and looking forward and looking back and seeing the path, seeing the road.
I don't know. Well, I haven't had that dream since. That's been like a 20-year-old dream. But and it's funny how dreams like that, you don't forget. Let's talk about the fact that you do sessions with people. Do you have, when people come in for sessions with you, private sessions, do they use recent dreams or do they throw back these decades old dreams?
I love when they bring older dreams. I love when you bring older dreams into session because it's astounding how brilliant your unconscious is. Even in those times, like if you bring a dream from childhood, like your unconscious had this symbolism in it that is just amazing. Its capacity to carry so much meaning.
Yeah.
Even when you were at that time, you didn't know that dream was going to come back and we were going to work it and unpack it and all of these things. So it can be really eye-opening to work an older dream.
If you can't remember your dreams, it's okay. Pam is here to help you with that too, because if you go to sweetgeorgiapam.com, she has a free downloadable guide called 6 Nights to Better Dream Recall. Go ahead and go to sweetgeorgiapam.com, download that guide, use that guide, have a dream, and then let us interpret it. Also, I say we.
Do your homework, you guys.
Yes, exactly. And also, it's like we are going to interpret it. Yeah, no, it's Pam doing the whole thing.
No way.
Free half-hour Zoom session also with Pam is at sweetgeorgiapam.com. And like we said, you can hire her for private sessions. You can also direct message her on social media, Sweet Georgia Pam. And again, thank you to Janid5 on TikTok, because Pam is on TikTok. So thank you for that dream. And also, if you want your dream interpreted, reach out to Pam or leave a comment here on YouTube, and we'll be happy to interpret your dreams. Thank you, Pam.
Sweet dreams, everybody.
The content in this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Pam Muller is not a licensed mental health professional. If you or someone you know suffers from severe, persistent nightmares, please seek medical help.